Hi everyone, James here from the Cerebra team. Today I'm joined by Jo Chapman, who is a partner in the specialist child brain injury team at Bolt Burdon Kemp, solicitors. Jo has written an article for the Cerebra website, which is on our website at the moment in the news section, about reasons why parents should seek legal advice about potential claim for compensation for their child with a neurological condition. So welcome, Jo.
Hi, thanks for having me. Thanks, James.
And to start with, Jo, could you explain a little bit about what led you to write the article?
Yeah, of course. I know that the demands of caring for a child with complex needs can be overwhelming for parents. I know that often they're in crisis with financial, practical and emotional struggles to contend with. There's just no time, let alone energy, to make yet another telephone call in the endless round of telephone calls that fills their day. But I also know that many people are reluctant to speak to a solicitor or hesitant about getting legal advice for any number of reasons. But I also know that by getting legal advice at an early stage, parents in this situation may find that they can get the help and support they, and more importantly, their child so desperately need. So if there's a claim for compensation, they can get financial and practical help to relieve many of the immediate pressures they're facing, as well as their worries about the future. So I wrote the article because I wanted to encourage parents of children with neurodevelopmental conditions, whether birth-related or due to stroke, illness or trauma, to get in touch with a specialist solicitor for legal advice. And I wanted to reassure them that doing so would be the best thing they could do for themselves and, more importantly, for their child. And all it takes is just one phone call to explore that option.
In your experience, are there some sort of common reasons why parents might put off seeking legal advice?
Absolutely. There could be any number of reasons why parents put off seeking legal advice. But apart from being overwhelmed with everything that's going on, I think the main reasons are perhaps they don't realise that their child has a brain injury, or they may be in denial that anything is wrong. Quite often it isn't until the child is older that it becomes clear that something is wrong, because then parents begin to notice that the children are struggling at school or can't keep up with others of their age. But even then it's emotionally challenging to come to terms with the problems that your child is struggling. And secondly, they may not realise that their child's condition could have been avoided. Parents may have been told, oh, these things just happen, or they like and respect their doctors and can't believe that they harm, or they trust in professionals and don't feel they have the right question and advice. Another common concern that we hear all the time from parents is that bringing a claim against the NHS will mean that their child will be treated differently by staff or won't be given the treatment that they need. But we've honestly never been in a situation where that happens. The staff treating the child aren't involved in the claim, and they're highly unlikely to know about it. Another very common reason that parents put off getting legal advice is because they often feel guilty about making a claim, particularly against the NHS. Or perhaps a person in a car who is responsible for the accident, they may know the driver. They worry, in the case of the NHS, that it will mean that money is being taken away from the NHS. This is absolutely not the case. It's always the other side's insurance company that pays the compensation settlement. And in the NHS's case, they have their own specialist insurer called the NHS Resolution. All NHS trusts pay an annual premium that will cover medical negligence claims. And in this way, parents can be assured that a settlement will never take money away from frontline care. Another reason parents often put off getting legal advice is because they often feel they're to blame for what happened to their child. This might be because they didn't feel they didn't ask enough questions. It might be because they feel they didn't ask enough questions, or they didn't speak up enough when things were going wrong. It might be because NHS staff have made them feel like that. So they might say, oh, you should have come into the hospital sooner, for example. And that in itself could be a red flag that there's been a failure in the care providers. But a big reason for putting off getting legal advice is that parents worry they'll have to pay legal costs. They just don't need to worry. Specialist solicitors will always offer an initial free, no obligation chat to talk things through. And if they think there's a case and the family wants to dispute it on the child's behalf, they will find a way to fund it, either through legal aid or under a no-win safety fee. And finally, I think parents often put off getting legal advice because they think solicitors are intimidating, but really they're not, or at least only to the other side when they need to be. Specialist solicitors have the experience, skills, and the training to know how to communicate clearly and sensitively to families who are going through terrible times. And above all, they really want to help make people's lives better.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can absolutely agree. We've been working with Bolt Burdon Kemp for a number of years now, and I can honestly say yourself, Cheryl, the team is so warm and welcoming, and intimidating is the last word that comes to mind. So, no, it's a brilliant team that you have. Yeah. So those are some of the reasons why people might put off getting in touch. Why do you feel it's important that they do reach out?
Basically, parents are legally responsible for their child. This means they're responsible for taking care of and protecting their child and their child's legal rights. Parents always have to consider what's in their child's best interest. And by seeking legal advice, parents are fulfilling that legal responsibility they have. They're acting in their child's best interest by taking steps to protect their child's legal rights and their future. And one really important point to make here is that it's crucial that a child with a brain injury gets the right support from the start. This might be things like equipment or therapy or adaptations to the home or specialist care. These things can really help a child to flourish and make a real difference for the long term. And the sooner those things are put in place, the better. So getting early specialist legal advice can really help put those wheels in motion for that to happen.
Excellent.
And sorry, carry on.
I was going to ask, how can legal advice sort of protect a child's rights?
Well, legal advice can help parents identify their child's rights. So, for example, every child has the right to an education, the right to a family life, the right to health and health services, the right to protection from discrimination, and the right to an adequate standard of living. Oh, on top of all of that, a child with a disability has the right to live a full and decent life with dignity and, as far as possible, independence, and to play an active part in the community. In the UK, a child also has the right to compensation if they have been injured and the injury is someone else's fault. So, getting legal advice can identify those rights, but it can also help parents take action to enforce those rights if necessary. So, for example, to enforce the right to compensation, specialist solicitors will make a claim for compensation, get all the evidence needed to win the claim, and make sure the child receives the right amount of compensation for their injuries. But I'll go further here also, because governments have legal duties too. They've got to do all they can to support disabled children and their families. They must do all they can to ensure that children survive and develop to their full potential, and they must support parents by creating support services for children and giving parents the help they need to raise their children. But sometimes legal advice is needed to make sure that the government fulfills its legal obligations. So, for example, a school and a local authority should assess a child's special educational and healthcare needs if they have them, and they should issue an EHC plan to meet those needs. But sometimes this isn't done, or it isn't done properly. And legal advice from a specialist solicitor can make sure that it is done and that it's done properly.
Excellent. And on the subject of compensation, how can seeking compensation help?
in many ways, it can help the parents, and it can help the child. In the first place, the solicitors would undertake an investigation into the claim, and through that investigation can find out what happened and provide answers so that lessons can be learned to prevent others being injured, and also so that those organisations can be held accountable. But the two main reasons that seeking compensation can help is by improving quality of life and by giving peace of mind. And I just want to say a little bit more about both of those things. So directly, compensation can provide financial, practical and emotional support. So, for example, it can release financial pressure, it can pay expenses and debt that's been incurred while the parents maybe have had to give up work to look after their child. It can buy equipment, adaptations to the home, or even a new home if needed. It can pay for therapy and medical treatment, and avoid waiting lists on the NHS and other private therapy treatment. It can pay for specialists, specially trained support workers and parents. It can make sure there's a coordinated and joined up practice of care and therapy. It can provide educational support at school. And it can pay for support for the wider family too. It might be that the family is finding it difficult to cope, you need some therapy perhaps, or other siblings have been perhaps not given as much attention as they might otherwise have been given, so they can get educational support and specialist therapy too. So in all of those ways, the family can get their lives back and the child can be helped to flourish and to live a rich and fulfilling life despite their disability. Compensation can also, and I think this is really important, make sure that a child's needs, so a need for a safe place to live, for care and therapy, that those needs are taken care of for as long as they live. And they may well outlive their parents. So no matter what happens, parents would have the peace of mind of knowing that their child will be safe and secure and cared for, no matter what happens to them.
Yeah, it's incredible. It opens so many doors, doesn't it, to to what the future can look like for families. From the outside, it can appear quite a difficult, complex process, and how can approaching specialists like yourself and your team help tackle that process?
Well, first of all, this is not a conveyancing matter. This is a serious, complex situation in all sorts of ways. A specialist solicitor will have the knowledge, skills and the expertise to handle complex medical and legal issues that will arise in a claim for a child who suffers a serious brain injury. They'll know what evidence will be needed, how to get the best evidence to support the claim, and they will have access to the best experts and know how to get the best evidence from those experts to support the claim. They'll also know that each family and each child is unique. They have their own unique challenges and problems and their own unique goals and aspirations. A specialist will take the time to listen, to understand the family and the challenges they face, understand what the family is looking for, and will create bespoke, tailored solutions that work for them. It's never a one-size-fits-all. They'll also know, as I touched on above, that it's absolutely crucial that a child with a brain injury gets the support from the get-go. So equipment therapy or adaptations and so on. These can really make a difference to the long term, and the sooner they're put in place, the better. So specialist solicitors will apply for interim payments and compensation at the earliest opportunity, and they'll put in place the practical help and support needed to give the child the best opportunity to develop and live as independently as possible. they also understand that a brain injury in a baby may not seem particularly serious when they're very young. All very young babies are dependent on others to meet their every need. But as they grow older, the severity and complexity of the injury becomes more apparent, and those complexities continue to evolve during their life in ways that may not be predictable. Specialist solicitors use their expertise to make sure that those complexities are identified so that there are no surprises further down the line. And throughout the claim, specialist solicitors give parents the sympathetic support and guidance that they need. They will communicate clearly and sensitively and with patience, and understand that some conversations may be upsetting. Most importantly, they will make sure families avoid a situation where they realise further down the line they haven't received enough money to meet their child's lifelong needs. The aim of compensation is to make sure that a child's needs are met for their lifetime, and that there's peace of mind for the parents that the money will always be there to look after the child even if something happens to them. So it's important that to get the amount right, and specialist solicitors will know how to do that.
So, and that peace of mind is so important for families, and it's can be an incredibly stressful situation that some people watching this may be in. Are there any sort of words of reassurance that you or advice that you can give to parents who are in this situation right now?
I would say, I know you're busy. I know you're stressed. Please just pick up the phone for a chat and let's see if we can help make it better. There will be a friendly, knowledgeable person on the end of the line to listen to your story free and without any obligation, and they'll advise whether they can help, and if so, what will happen next. If they can't help, at least you'll know that you've left no stone unturned in doing the best for your child, and they can direct you to other sources to help. And if they can help, I promise it will be a weight off your shoulders.
Brilliant, thank you, Jo. Well, if anyone is interested in learning more, Jo's contact details will be in the description down below, along with a link to your article, Jo. You can also find that information on our social media, and as I say, the article itself is on our website. So thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Jo, or before we sign off?
Not at all. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. It's so important that parents get advice as soon as possible. It really does make a difference. Thank you very much for the opportunity, James.
Thanks, Jo. Well, lovely to see you. To everyone watching, BBK have been a long-term partner of Cerebra, and we're pleased to continue this relationship and be sharing many more articles on topics that you think will be helpful to families. So we look forward to bringing those to you over the next few months. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.